War. Amanda, war. There's wars.
War never changes.
It's actually that's actually a pretty accurate assessment. No, there's wars in the stars. The final trilogy of Star Wars, the 9-movie arc is complete.
It's done,
and it's time to talk about spoilers and that movie and a lot of different stuff here on Rage Select. I'm Jeff.
I'm Amanda.
And while we do this, you're going to see. I haven't decided yet what it's going to be, but there's going to be some Star Wars game. I don't know if it's Yoda Stories or Battlefront or like.
Should it just be a montage of Baby Yoda?
Masters of Terra. It's just all Baby Yoda.
If we say something you don't like, just look at this image of Baby Yoda.
Just look at this static shot of Baby Yoda on a speeder bike having a good time.
Aww.
No, so we're gonna do this. I got a kind of structure going on here. We're not just gonna jump right into spoilers. So if you haven't seen this yet, well, you're probably not listening to this because it says SpoilerCast. But anyway. Man, it seems like so long ago that I watched this movie. It seems like it was a whole year ago that I watched this movie.
That's such a dad joke.
I know. I'm sorry.
Shame.
I need children so that I can make more dad jokes. So yes, Star Wars: The Rise of the Skyman came out, and we both saw it. Now I think that we went into this very differently because I was watching all the trailers and everything and all the different stuff. You were on a total media blackout.
I go totally blind. No trailers, no articles, no interviews, no I don't. Oh well, John Boyega. I love John Boyega. No, I don't. But
you
care.
guys have blocked on Twitter.
Yeah,
so.
I was like blocked. I never want to see it. The closest thing I have is him on Instagram because he's an enjoyable fellow.
Okay.
But I do not partake in anything Star Wars until the movie comes out, and then I watch.
Okay.
I did that for Last Jedi, and I did that for
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens as well.
Okay. So just going in, I mean, let me ask you, just going into the movie, how were you feeling? Were you psyched and ready to go? You're pumped. Just can't wait for those wars, man.
So I started to hear little rumblings because we couldn't watch it right away, and we have a lot of friends that get to watch movies before we do.
This one was so bad.
And people were not great about keeping their shit to themselves. So I started hearing little rumblings of it's not great.
Yeah.
And then I had some random friends that were just like FJJ.
Right.
That's it. That's all they put. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to lower my standard a little. So I didn't go in totally hyped and excited, but I also, because I go in blind, feel pretty confident that I'm going to at least go and have a good time.
Sure. You haven't been tainted by the internet and its dumbness ahead of time.
So I'm not there ready to analyze.
You're not prejudging it by the trailers or any of this stuff.
Which is what I think I need to do that for these kinds of movies because I get lost in the what does that mean? But this happens.
The quote unquote discourse.
Yes. So I get a little too hyped up in that. So any movies that I think I'm going to do that for, I just completely step out of it.
So you weren't just bouncing off the walls, but you were still excited. You still had some amount of excitement.
I was super hyped about going to see it and that it was the end, but I also wasn't expecting Last Jedi, which I greatly enjoyed.
Yeah.
I was like, nothing's going to be Last Jedi. I don't like J.J. Abrams, so I'm not expecting it to be as good.
Yeah, if anybody's listening to this is one of the kind of diehard Last Jedi, don't like Last Jedi people, I respect your opinion, but I think pretty much everybody that I know liked The Last Jedi and liked that direction.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So, I don't know. I mean, without going directly into the spoilers, I always hate it when movie reviews, they just start and they're just nothing here if you haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah.
So I would say, I was trying to think about how I would talk about this movie to a person without spoilers, that hadn't seen it yet. And I think that what I would probably end up saying is that there's a certain type of movie. Okay, I think The Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker have a lot in common, and in a lot of ways, it's that The Force Awakens has a lot of kind of nostalgic callbacks. It's very slickly filmed. It has a good score. I mean, obviously the special effects and the costumes and everything are super great.
Right.
And if you just kind of watch it and have a good time, and you come out the end and you're just like, hey man, that was a pretty good movie. Now, if you start thinking about it too much, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, I'm sorry, did that make any sense? Or like, why did we just do episode 4 over again? And people are like, well, I just need to refresh the series after the prequels. I'm like, did you guys think that people had forgotten about the original Star Wars trilogy?
That is my thing is, just the, like, we wanted it to feel like a Star Wars movie. It's like, it was going to no matter what.
It's
like,
put Star Destroyers and Stormtroopers and lightsabers in it. It's going to feel like a Star Wars movie.
Yes.
Like The Mandalorian didn't have to start out by redoing, Rogue One in order to establish itself as a Star Wars show. Just as long as everything looks like Star Wars, we're going to be like, hey, cool, Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, if you okay, when you say this sort of thing, Amanda, I feel like it comes off as incredibly condescending, but I don't want it to because I do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're the type of person that just goes to a movie, watches it, you just turn your brain off, and you're just like, that's cool.
Yeah, looking for an escape.
Had a good time.
Yeah.
It's flashing lights, a lot of dramatic action sequences.
Flashing light, they jingle keys in front of you. You're like, yeah.
Like a little baby. No, but I mean, like...
Sorry, I don't want it to sound condescending, but
No,
Amanda's going to come in and make it sound condescending.
And I know that I have no street cred when it comes to movies. Everybody knows that my taste in movies is shitty. Like, I watched Venom, and I was like, okay, listen, that wasn't the worst thing I've... I mean, like, I'd never watch it again, but I didn't feel like my life had been wasted by watching Venom. It was just like beginning, middle, end, Tom Hardy and a big goop monster. Okay. So, in a lot of ways, if you're that kind of person who likes that, I feel like this is going to be a solid, like, I don't know, like 7 out of 10. Like, probably pretty good. Now, as the last Star Wars movie... less so, but before we get there, do you have a review for people who don't want spoilers who haven't seen the movie?
Well, it's fun. So let me do like a comparison to The Last Jedi, and I very much enjoyed The Last Jedi. So you should know that for me in the trilogy, it was the best. But where to me, the more I thought about The Last Jedi, the more I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Rise of Skywalker is the opposite. So I probably went out feeling the same way about both of them, where I was like, that was enjoyable. I really enjoyed it.
Right.
And the more I think about Rise of Skywalker, the less I enjoy it.
Okay.
And I feel like I need to watch it again because of that, because I'm just like, wow, like I just keep thinking about all the things that are wrong with it. But every time in Last Jedi, when somebody would tell me something that's wrong with it, like, how could you like The Last Jedi? This happens in it or that happens in it. I would be like, it doesn't do anything. Or like, actually, if you really think about it, your logic doesn't make sense. Like, sometimes the criticisms are wrong, in my opinion. But for Rise of Skywalker, the opposite. I'm just like, but why this? You're gonna if you keep listening, you're gonna hear me do that a lot because I'm gonna get real into it. But if I were to give it like a number score, I probably would fall under like a 7.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. If I want like an action sci-fi adventure, it's definitely like, it doesn't kill me to watch it. It doesn't ruin the other 2 movies. It's a fun time, but it's not.
The problem is that there's a larger context to Star Wars that it's difficult to divorce one movie from.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that Solo was perfectly enjoyable because it didn't have any connection to this Jedis and Siths and the universe and whatnot, right? It was just like, hey, here's some fan service.
Still haven't seen Solo.
Well, there you go. But I thought that was fine. But the problem with the mainline entry of Star Wars is that it's got a bigger context, and I think that's why I almost would rather have 2 scores for this. It's fine if you're just like, what's a Star War? Oh, okay, let's go watch this.
Yeah.
But if you're the kind of person like me who had Empire Strikes Back fucking bed sheets and like was collecting the UPCs off the Kenner thing to send away for like the Emperor's Guard limited edition figure and like, all the bullshit. I don't think you should have to like put out your bona fides, your credentials to be a Star Wars fan. But like, I was way into this shit. And then the prequels kind of disabused me of a lot of that by the time I got out of there. So then I've come into this latest series without a lot of expectation. And then 7, I was like, okay, I guess. And The Last Jedi came out, and I was like, oh, I'm legit excited to see where you're going from here. Because the end of Last Jedi, in my opinion, just left it so open to do anything, do anything. Like,
and he did what he did.
So let's talk about some spoilers. From the, one of the most amazing things about this movie is unless they had somehow changed the color or font of the words a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the very first sentence is where I start having difficulty with this
Really?
movie. Because when the title crawl comes up, the first thing it says is, "The dead speak. Emperor Palpatine is back from the grave."
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I will never be able to understand why this wasn't saved for a third act reveal. Why the movie starts with this revelation that should be this bombshell that the Emperor is still alive and he's been masterminding this whole thing the whole time. It's like, that's the thing we're supposed to find out in the last 30 minutes of the movie, not in the title crawl.
I mean, they shoved a bunch of unnecessary things in the rest of this movie, so I feel like you can't. you have to put it in the crawl. You just don't have any room for it.
See, I don't know. I've been doing that thing that everybody on the internet does. There's a name for it. I keep forgetting what it is, where fan fixing or something like that, where it's like rewriting the movie to make it better, like script doctoring or things like that. And I just don't know why, you could still have Kylo Ren's following the Wayfinder to find this Sith thing for some reason, any reason, and then show him walking into the big spooky temple, and then there's like a voice, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like, before you hear Palpatine speak, he turns and you get a reaction shot, and then you stop. And then we have the entire rest of the movie. And then once Rey goes in at the end, oh my God, it's the motherfucking Emperor. His fingers are all fucked up, and he's hanging from the ceiling like GLaDOS and all the bullshit that's in the
he's
movie.
like a gross puppet.
Yeah, he's like smooth. He's a very smooth face man now. But I just
What an odd observation.
I just don't understand why you would put what is essentially a spoiler for the last act of the movie as the very, very, very first thing.
Didn't you hear him in The Last Jedi, though?
No.
Don't we hear his laugh or something? Or is that the ending
he
credit?
Was in the trailer, I believe.
Well, I wouldn't know.
But I don't know. Maybe we did. But the thing is that I didn't get the impression. I have to go back and check on that. But I didn't think he was in the Last
Jedi. He was
Jedi.
going to be in this movie, and I didn't watch the trailer.
Well, there was a lot of. I mean, they put him on the poster and shit. Like, it was very blatant. I mean, he was in the first. The end of the first teaser trailer. You hear him laugh at the end, and they're standing on the wreckage of the Death Star, and you're just like, okay. But I don't know. To me, it was just, or even like I'm gonna go one step further.
Yeah.
Even if you wanted the movie to start with Palpatine reveal, not putting it in the crawl and having that opening sequence with Kylo Ren, and he's killing all those hat guys for some reason to get the Wayfinder. Yeah. He's real mad. He's into it. He's throwing guys around and he's sweaty.
Super dark side right now.
Yeah. And then he goes, and then there's that whole thing where Palpy's every voice in your head, and it's Snoke, and then it's Vader, and then it's him, and then it reveals that he's there. If it hadn't been the title crawl, that would have been a good reveal at the very beginning. I just don't understand why you felt the need to tell us this important plot point.
Who reads the crawl?
But can we? Okay, I would like to stay with Mr. Palpatine for a little while, because there are two big problems that I have with Palpy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Grandpalpy.
A lot of people, have said that because Rian Johnson killed off Snoke, there wasn't a big bad guy to defeat. And my personal response to that is because the story now is the relationship between Kylo Ren and Rey as both a dark side user moving towards the light and a light side user moving towards the dark. And that's the central core, not what Thanos can we put into this movie. But it's okay. Problem the first is there's a line. Okay. Dominic Monaghan, who's just inexplicably in this movie for no fucking reason, he's there.
Yeah.
Says, they're like, well, how is Palpatine back? And he's like, dark science, cloning, Sith magic, any of these. Pick one, I guess, or whatever. The problem with this is that without knowing how the Emperor's alive, he could be back in the next movie. They could bring him back whenever they want to, apparently, because we never established how the fuck is he alive again. Is that the Emperor that got thrown down the Death Star shaft, or did he have a clone that he jumped into? Did he come from an alternate universe?
Yeah.
Was he like another guy?
Oh, we're not doing alternate universes. Hang on.
Time travel?
No.
Did the Emperor's soul go into an Imperial officer and take him over?
The implication is very that like he can kind of possess the body of other things, right? So like he was speaking through Snoke. So is he just?
I love the tank o' Snokes, by the way, that they've got there.
Yeah.
Why is he making more Snokes? Why are there any more Snokes?
Of any like Sith Lord, Snoke is probably not the one I would be trying to bring back.
And why do they all have fucked up faces? He made them like that, like in the first place.
I was kind of wondering if he was just trying to clone Vader, and that he kept
fucking it up.
It kept because Vader was already such a like fucked up. Like husk of what a human was.
Yeah.
That if you tried to clone that, it would be imperfect.
It'd be all fucked up.
Yeah, and so they just made Snoke.
I just like the idea that if he's got a lot of Snokes, right, somewhere in that big cavern, there had to be a closet with just all the gold lame outfits. There's like a huge, fabulous closet full of gold lame outfits for Snoke.
He has just stormtroopers sewing up really nice outfits.
But in addition to not getting to the end of this with the whole fucking super Jedi, super Sith nonsense, but without... Okay, so maybe you got killed by a super Jedi, you can't come back to life, right? But even if the Emperor is alive, doesn't that mean that Darth Vader's ultimate sacrifice for his son was kind of for nothing, because the Emperor lived and then pulled the strings to create the First Order and like bring darkness back to the galaxy? So Anakin Skywalker's like noble sacrifice is now just like garbage because...
Yeah, but I mean, this is the problem with connecting everything to those original, like the Skywalker saga, is that if we keep going, then that means that everything was for naught anyway. So
the implication.
Yeah, because of the implication. So it's just, you have to accept that if you're going to accept the Skywalker saga is continuing.
It also makes, the other implication is that Palpatine being the bad guy in the third one, as well as the driving force behind the whole First Order, means that Star Wars is not the Skywalker saga, it is the Palpatine saga.
Which I actually kind of like that trade-off.
Yeah.
I like that idea, that this whole thing, we thought we were following one story, but we're really following the story of Palpatine's.
It could be interesting. But then that brings me to my second point about Palpatine that I absolutely love, is that, okay, Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter, right? Palpatine had kids, and one or the other of them, or maybe they were twins, and it was just a big incest thing.
Gross.
They're just like getting the Force, like
no,
really getting
he
the
had
Force
a
together.
son. If I'm not mistaken, it was said he had a son, and then
In an interview with J.J. Abrams.
no, I mean like.
I don't think they said it in the movie.
I could have sworn they said he had a son.
I think they left it ambiguous, but I could also be wrong. I saw it once, and then I saw it a second time. Let's just say that I didn't go to the theater the second time. Sith evil magics, Sith rituals. So, but I love this because what this means is that at some point Palpatine had a wife and they fucked, and I want it. My headcanon is that this happened on Palpatine's brightest day. He's defeated the Jedis. He's come home. He's just given his speech. He's taken over the Republic. And his face is all fucked up, and he's just like, "Honey, I'm home." She's like, "Oh, Sheev, what happened?" It's like, "The Jedis attempted to assassinate me, but you know what? You're looking very nice today."
No, not playing this game.
Let's go to the bedroom.
No, why is he a pirate?
I don't know. That's my Palpatine voice.
Let's go to the bedroom.
But like, okay. This is an important plot detail, and this is the problem with just coming in at the 11th hour with some bullshit like this, is like, Palpatine having kids is an important thing that we probably should have known about at any point in time, instead of just like, surprise. So, but yeah, I do like the mental image of Emperor Palpatine having sex. Who was his wife? Who was he married to?
First of all, how do you know it was a wife? Second of all, like, pure of heart, think that he would get married. He could have easily, first of all, this could have easily been a whore that he got pregnant.
So now I like the idea of a bunch of clone troopers like lined up at the entrance and exit to like the Coruscant red light district with a bunch of Twi'leks and like that lady that with the lips that sang in Return of the Jedi,
yeah.
and they're all just in their red doors, and he's just like, "Ooh, I want all 4 of them."
I'm just saying.
Someone's getting pregnant tonight.
I don't want to do this anymore.
The lightning doesn't just come from my hands.
No. Somehow you have ruined Star Wars for me.
Yay, I did it. It wasn't the internet. It was me all along. So anyway, those are my problems with Palpatine. Amanda, you have a whole written out list of problems. Let's get one of your problems in
let's
here.
see. Hang on. I wrote them out because I didn't want to forget anything.
Okay.
We never find out Finn's secret to Rey.
Okay, so that apparently there's so much going on here, and this is such bullshit. I hate this thing in our modern era. Apparently, J.J. Abrams said in an interview that the secret is that Finn is force sensitive, and that's what he was going to tell Rey.
Rey, before we die, I'm force sensitive.
Yeah, and then we died.
Yeah, I legitimately thought he was going to say that.
Like I'm super
he
into
knew,
you.
No, that he knew her grandfather was Palpatine.
How would he know that?
I don't know.
Guess
He implied Leia knew, and that he knew if he.
Well, Leia and Luke apparently knew for some reason.
Right,
yeah.
but Finn implied that Leia knew, which means that he would have to know that Leia knew. Does that make sense?
Maybe he was on like the internet on one of the Star Destroyers. He was on like
he's like, holy shit.
He was on like First Order Reddit, like hashtag First Snorter, and then like it was like, hey, who do you think is that girl that we're trying to kill's? And there was like
everyone's like, it's Palpatine. We all know that.
It was like a Westworld thing where they're like, what if it was the Emperor? And everyone's like, he's dead. And they're like, I don't know. Have you seen the guy that's running this place with the gold lame disco jumpsuit? I bet there's another guy hanging from the ceiling that's pulling the real strings on the Lightning Planet who lives under a rock, and he's got thousands of hooded figures that are question mark? What do they do?
I don't know.
Are they all that pig guy that was like welding Kylo Ren's hat back together again? Where him and the Knights of Ren are all just standing around watching this like there's no TV on this planet, so we're just going to watch this.
Stare. What was I going to say? John Boyega had a contest not a contest, but he told people, what do you think I yelled when we were getting sucked into the quicksand or whatever it was, and everyone had like, you told Rey you loved her, you this and that, and then one person just said, he put a quote, I hate sand, it's coarse and it gets everywhere.
Oh no, somebody made a great point online that I saw where they're like, at the very end of the movie, Rey wraps up Luke and the two lightsabers, but the lightsaber that she's wrapping up is Anakin's lightsaber that was passed down to Luke. And she wraps it up and buries it in sand at the Owens ranch or whatever, the Lars farm. I don't remember. Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. Lars is their last name. Mm-hmm. So at the Lars farm, she just buries it in like 4 feet of sand on a sand planet where there's
she
sand.
used the Force to bury it. I'd like to think it went deeper than 4 feet.
And so that we could know that she has her own lightsaber, and it's yellow.
Also, that bothered me because she literally lights it up. She lightsaber, and then undoes it, and it's like, why would you do that?
No, I want there to be another scene because I wanted that to be the reason that lady rode up, where she was like, what the fuck? What's going on over at the old Lars farm? Somebody's over there with one of those Jedi swords that those guys got. And then because that's when she decides she's just gonna legally change her name.
Yeah,
and live.
It doesn't take much.
Can we camp out for a second? Why the fuck would she go back? Like this?
She was burying the lightsabers and then she was leaving.
Oh, was she leaving?
I think the implication was that she's off doing her own adventures now. She wasn't like Obi-Wanning where she was just gonna like live in Tatooine for the rest of her life.
Okay, I guess. I mean, I guess I would have liked to have seen her fly away in a spaceship. Yeah,
I mean, I just thought of it was more of like a closure thing. Like this was the end of that chapter, and she was burying it. Shouldn't it began?
Didn't it all begin on Naboo? Shouldn't she have buried the lightsabers on Naboo? That's bad. That's a bad idea.
No,
you don't want to go back to Naboo.
Nobody wants to. Don't go Naboo.
Don't go to Naboo.
Do you want to hear any?
Yeah. No. Give me another one. What you got?
I put Rose loves space horses. We learned this in The Last Jedi, and yet when there's space horses in Rise of Skywalker, she's nowhere to be found.
Man, can we? Okay, listen. I know people don't like Rose, and I think Rose is fine. Like, she's not my favorite character in the world, but she's fine. But man, did she get done dirty in this movie?
So, all right. So here's my big this is me gonna go on a rant for a second.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams is a fucking coward. Quote me on that. Put it on a T-shirt with my name right underneath it. Because what the fuck? I'm not saying Rose was a great character in Last Jedi. There were definitely some flaws with her character.
Sure.
And instead of making her a better character and using the time he had to develop that character to prove something to a slew of people that were essentially being really misogynistic and racist. He's like, I just didn't like her. She was Asian. She was a girl, and I don't like her. You guys would have given any white dude a shot in Star Wars, but heaven forbid Rose got an extra shot at being good. But we get the Lost buddies in there, and
Greg Grunberg and Dominic Monaghan.
We have plenty of time for them to have screen time.
And Admiral Akbar Jr.
Yeah.
For some fucking reason.
And then, so a minute and 16 seconds is as much screen time that Rose got.
Yep.
That alone is upsetting. Then on top of that, the reason, which was piss poor writing of
she got homework, Amanda. She can't go on the adventure.
Your last chance to come with me. Sorry, Princess Leia wants me to stay behind. And it's like, don't you ever use fucking Princess Leia's name to keep a woman down.
Take Princess Leia's name out of your mouth.
You take Leia Organa's goddamn name out of your mouth. Like, really, it was lazy and bad. Like, in general, it's bad writing where they're like, you could come on this adventure too. No, I gotta stay behind. Because the general needs me. And then you don't show her doing anything that's necessary. She's a developed character. You could easily turn her into a good character, and you chose not to.
You could have put her in place of the big orange slug guy.
Yeah.
And given her another 40 seconds worth of time. You could have taken a few things and moved them around.
They said that J.J. Abrams said that they had they'd filmed more scenes with her, but the CGI that they used with Princess Leia ended up not being satisfactory, and therefore they didn't use it. And so she just happened to get on the cutting block. One, that's strike two on using Princess Leia to hold somebody back, to use Carrie Fisher to hold somebody back, because, goddamn. But two, they had the chance. They used the CGI for that garbage throwback of Leia training with Luke, which, by the way, why did they make him so young? That was New Hope Leia and Luke, and not Return of the Jedi Leia and Luke. And Leia wouldn't have been training until after Return of the Jedi. They should have looked older. It doesn't make any sense, guys. Look, go back and watch it, and tell me that that's not New Hope Luke and Leia. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep. No, I listen. They had the ghoulish specter of Grand Moff Tarkin bebopping all the way through Rogue One, and listen, if you can't do the face thing, which you can because they've done it in the Marvel movies.
I've watched enough deepfake porns to know that you can.
They did it in the Marvel movies. They did it in some of the Star Wars movies. It's been getting better and better all the time. They did it in the Blade Runner, whatnot. Yeah. It's not great, but the thing is that if you don't want to do that, again, you know what? I was thinking the other day about how it would have been a very fitting tribute in the opening crawl to say, Leia Organa's trip into her accident in space, her injuries got worse over time, and eventually, after sparking the New Hope, she succumbed to her injuries. Start the movie with everybody on that whatever the dumb other jungle planet they're on.
Yep.
With Leia Organa in a big funeral, and give the send off right instead of writing around it in a way that's not satisfactory to everyone, because what ended up happening was she died to make a phone call to
She died
to distract
to nearly kill her son.
no, she did get her son killed.
Yeah.
Rey stabbed the fuck out of him. Like
Yeah.
she distracted him, and he was like, "Mom," and then like bazong, she fucking Han Solo'd him.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then that was it. She was dead, and it was like, well, was that necessary? I mean,
And this also goes back to the Rose thing, because they said they wanted a known character, developed character to be with Leia the whole time.
Right.
That's why they were like, we grounded Rose because she needed to be with Leia.
What about Maz Kanata?
Okay, how about the fact that they like made a point to have Billie Lourd, who's Carrie Fisher's actual daughter, have an established role? Like she tries to help the mutiny that what's his face does in The Last Jedi. She's one of his Poe's.
right.
She has the
I know
two
who you're
tiny
talking
buns
about.
too.
Yeah.
And they don't give her any time on screen,
she's
even
gone.
though she could have easily also had some development. And she could have been the person that's with Carrie Fisher. Oh my God, it would have made sense because it's her fucking daughter. But whatever.
Hey, she could have kissed a lady at the end of the movie in order to be like,
so they can edit it out when they do it.
Check out this, everybody.
That was poorly. But there was one other one that I had to bring up.
Okay, what else? What else you got?
Okay,
hit me with it.
So these are hardcore spoilers, but C-3PO dies and comes back. Chewbacca dies and comes back. Kylo Ren is so emo that in a movie where characters constantly die and come back, he dies forever.
Yes. Well, okay. Let's go down. You keep rolling these out really quickly. All right. I know a lot of people like C-3PO, and I think C-3PO is fine.
Yeah.
Hinging so much of this story on C-3PO was like, why? I don't understand. Like, you could have, and I think it would have been something if they'd had the strength of their convictions to wipe C-3PO out, have him make the sacrifice, and don't leave him, kill him. Like, kill him off. Like, that's going to burn out his CPU to tell you, we'll get to the dagger, to describe the dagger. But, like, that would have had the strength of your convictions. But the thing is that it's like, looking at my friends one last time, and then like
also they volunteered him for it. They never felt really bad until
he didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
in fact, at the very end, he was like, "I have a different idea," and Babu Freak is like, "Nope, bitch, let's go."
Yeah.
Boom, and then they just undo it. Also, can I ask why in the world did they leave R2 behind? At least Rose had to study for Death Star or for Star Destroyer homework exams.
Yeah.
But like R2 doesn't come with them for no reason, because I guess you had BB-8 and you were going to bring in Dio.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Also,
that
so
whole
I
thing.
kind of like Dio. I like the idea behind it.
Yeah.
But I like it shows like a connection that they're really kind to like Dio. And I think that's great. The only problem is they juxtapose that with how shitty they treat C-3PO.
Yes.
Because C-3PO consistently like, you guys are my friends. I care a lot about you guys. You guys are like my best friends.
Like,
I
shut
love
up,
you guys. And
3PO.
they're like, we're going to erase your brain. And
Shut
then they're
up.
like, somebody was really mean to Dio. Oh my God, be calm and patient with him. And it's like, what? You guys are monsters.
Yeah.
It's only like, it's like this puppy's cute. That puppy's old and we don't like it anymore. And it's just like,
It's like an ugly baby. No, yeah, I agree. And it just, I don't know. I guess it felt a lot of this is going to come back to me. There was a lot of stuff in here that felt very fan servicey for no reason.
oh, like Chewbacca getting a medal?
Yeah. I don't think anybody. Yeah, at the end of the movie, they give Chewbacca the medal because, like, what did Chewbacca get a medal in episode 4? And it's like, I don't know, maybe because he doesn't have room in all his hair for the medal, or maybe he's got it and it's just in a drawer somewhere and he didn't wear it at the very end. Or maybe they
he's
were like,
medals are dumb and they're insulting to us Wookiees.
Chewie was like, hey, on Kashyyyk, whenever a great battle has been won, Wookiees, we do a war cry. I will take your medal, Leia Organa, but for now, I must perform the rites of my ancient... I mean, there's like 7 million reasons that you can fucking pull out of your asshole about why didn't Chewie get the medal, because, Han Solo was shooting, but that means that Chewie was flying the Millennium Falcon. It's like, shut the fuck up, nerds! Like, there was no... And the thing is that there was probably a better way to do it than just like, this was Leia's. She liked this medal a lot, and you liked Leia, so have this medal, Chewie.
You deserve it.
It's like, what?
Yeah, it was a little too. Next time, just have J.J. Abrams walk out and wink to the camera.
Also, so a lot of people pointed this out, so I'm definitely not the first person because I've been watching a million things about this. Is that when Rey thinks that she killed Chewbacca, and like all of her friends think that she fucking killed Chewbacca,
yeah,
and they're all just like, Chewie's sacrifice. It's not going to be in vain. Let's do it for our good buddy Chewbacca. And none of them are ever like even remotely put off that Rey shot lightning 30 feet into the air and incinerated their friend.
Yeah.
And then like one scene later, they just show that he's alive.
Yeah, and they bring him right back. Yeah.
And it's like, well, what the fuck, man?
I mean, again, they undid it. Like they killed off C-3PO in a way. They like erased everything from him, and then like right after, as soon as they get back to that other planet where the base is, they bring him right back.
Mm-hmm. I wish they'd brought back General Hux. That
was weird.
There's this whole subplot. Like this movie's really mean in a lot of ways. This whole subplot, the movie starts with like there's a spy in the First Order who has passed along the information that the Emperor is back, and so we've got to find the thingamabob in order to get to where he is because he and the problem I have. This is some real small nitpicking, but I like to pick them nits. Is like where is the planet that they can't see it? Like they've got to fly through a weird red Mass Effect 2 like junkyard or something.
It's like in the middle of a nebula or something.
Like, can we just get an establishing shot of like Exegol?
Yeah, like an outside view.
Like zoom out past the Star Destroyers through the nebula so that we can see that it's. Because at the very end of the movie, one of the problems that they have is that the Star Destroyers can't leave Exegol without the antenna. And Red Letter Media made a great point where they're like, well, have you tried going up?
Yeah.
Have you tried to put the planet behind you and then go out the other direction?
Maybe no.
If you're all going to be destroyed, then why not? I mean, give it a shot. Well, they were too close together, and it's like, all right, well then have half of them all run into each other, and then there'll be half as many, and you can get half of your planet-destroying Sith Star Destroyers off. Also, okay. Okay,
I thought I was going to be the one ranting, but I really appreciate it.
No, this has been like all cooped up inside of me. I haven't had a chance to do this. Okay, did they build the Star Destroyers or were they magicked into existence?
I feel like they were already built but magic as well. I don't know. It didn't. They were just there.
Okay. And the people that were crewing the Star Destroyers.
So that was the thing. Okay, so like I can easily like allow the magical planet destroying Star Destroyers.
I can't.
But where the fuck were these people that are like, oh yes, the established final order is here, and it's like, what?
Who are they?
Why?
Well, and the other thing that was really weird to me is that I figured like there was a perfectly easy way out of this, right? Is instead of just making them look like old school Star Destroyers with a big gun on the bottom that we saw in the last movie, but now they're. I'm so fucking sick of Death Stars, Amanda. I'm so fucking sick of Death Stars.
We're all sick of Death Stars.
And now it's like, but now there's thousands of them. And
how dare you? My grandfather was a Death Star.
But like, when those Star Destroyers had come up, they kind of looked like Star Destroyers, but they were like black and like they had like a bunch of weird spikes coming off of them. And then when we went inside, it like looked like a Star Destroyer, but it was all red and black. And the hooded guys were doing all the stuff. The pig men and the Knights of Ren were captaining them or whatever. Like, I feel like that would have taken, I wouldn't even have asked that question. It would have been like, again, dark clones. They're all clones, right?
Like any kind of reason.
They're just clones, and they just do what they're told, and instead of etc. But why did they all have to be started? Why do they all have to be Death Stars? And then you know what I really don't understand.
No, what?
What I really don't understand. Okay, so they sent the one Death Star out to blow up Poe's girlfriend's planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, like, at the end of the movie, there's a montage, right? Or, like, above Bespin and above Otto, with the Porgs, where the Porgs are. Whatever the planet is. And then above Endor, and we see the new Star Destroyers being destroyed and falling out of the sky, right? Yeah. Okay. Where were those? Like, Like, they launched the fleet, right? They all came out of the ice.
Yeah.
And then, like, one of them left, I guess, to show their power by destroying the
Maybe they had more
Girlfriend-
lined up and ready.
world. And then some other ones left. But then apparently they weren't really super, because if you shoot the bottom of them 3 times with an X-Wing, they explode.
Is that
So
not standard?
I mean,
You have to shoot them 3 times. If I recall, the first movie to destroy a Death Star, you only had to shoot once.
yeah. I don't know. I keep getting hung up on where were those? Like, did they launch a bunch of them at one time, and then what was there was the rest of them? Because the whole ticking clock of them having to get there with the Grand Fleet or whatever was because if they launch them, then they're all going to go out and then
Destroy planets.
But then this also makes me, I don't, like, why do you need that many planet destroyers? Were you going to, like, reestablish?
Because no one's going to fight you if one person gets out of line, you destroy the entire planet?
A lot of this goes back to the problem of trying to think too high up in the Star Wars universe, because, like, in the Force Awakens, the Republic was destroyed. The 5 planets that the Starkiller base destroyed were like the seat of the Central Republic, right? Yeah. And then in The Last Jedi, we had, I don't know, a little bit of time. And then obviously some time has passed since then. But, like, who's running the rest of the galaxy? Like, there's more than 4 planets. There's more than 8 planets in this entire galaxy. Like, who's running Jakku? Who's setting the Imperial taxes on
We were on Jakku. No one was running Jakku.
Okay, but, like, you know, we've established that there's a trade federation, and there's got to be, like, somebody, like, the New Republic had some kind of army, right? Like, it might have been an ineffectual army, but they had some. Did they ever have an army? Did there was no army ever except for Leia's, like, 8 ships? That was the Resistance had all, like, the rich guys on Canto Bight. Weren't they selling X-Wings to anybody else? Or, like, Corellian Corvettes?
Wasn't it, like, established in some way that, like, the Rebel Alliance had to be separate from, like, the Republic and any government that was running the galaxy, so that's why it was such a smaller.
What I've read online was that after the Rebels took over the and a lot of this is a problem that goes through this entire movie, is where you don't understand the stakes because they just reset it. But the central government, the New Republic, was split, and that half of the New Republic left and they turned into the First Order, and the part that was left, they were too dithering, committee-minded to be able to, like, make a decision to do anything, and then they done got blowed up. However, there were still a bunch of, like, warships and stuff like around. So, like, at the end of the movie, when the giant fleet of like fighters and freighters and wackadoos that Lando gets in like 25 minutes, even though in the last movie there was a whole point about how nobody would come to their aid and crate.
Right,
like,
but in fairness, Lando Calrissian wasn't asking them.
But it's one of these logistical things to me of just like where did they come from? If one of these ships was so easy, the problem is that once they start shooting at the Star Destroyers instead of just flying around getting shot by them or riding horses on top of them for some dumb reason, once they start actually just
they couldn't find them because they weren't on
well, I know, but once they get there and the ships start shooting at them, they fold like a house of cards, right? Like, they either need to have the Emperor shooting his hand lightning up in the air that only hits the ships that he wants it to. But, you know, like a Star Destroyer used to be like an imposing thing, right? You know, like the Millennium Falcon ran away from Star Destroyers. You just fly underneath it, shoot it 3 times in the bottom, and then it's done. Yeah. But all these new ships, it's like they just shoot them 3 times and they're done. And it's like, well, who gives a fuck if they get off Exegol, right? If we get a big enough fleet, all that's going to happen is...
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to give them a chance to destroy a planet.
Well, yes. No, obviously.
So, like, maybe we should get them now before they end up in front of some planets we like.
Obviously. This may be a good transition, unless we've got some more stuff to go over, into the whole idea of, like, when you think about this stuff too much, it's like the Emperor coming back to life.
Yeah.
Without knowing how the Emperor came back to life, there's nothing to say they can't just script hands them back to life. Without seeing these Star Destroyers do anything except shoot one planet, but then if they get shot, then they just immediately blow up. And it's like, well, this sucks. The Starkiller base was like sucking down suns and shooting 5 planets at a time, and it was like completely covered in like thousands and thousands of First Order troopers.
Yeah.
Like, what? This was your master plan? Was like you're going to take over the galaxy with this? It seems like 3 ships and 40 X-wings that go up to you as you're getting ready to blow up the planet could destroy this thing in 5 minutes.
Can we just say that, like, clearly this has to be the saga of Palpatine, because Palpatine had one idea and just kept doing it over and over again?
Okay, if I was Sheev Palpatine and I had a new master plan, the last thing in the fucking world that I would do would make it so that blowing up one thing could stop my master plan, because that's literally happened to him multiple times.
He's really bad at this. Like, he's really bad.
And then, you know, have you ever been watching a show? You know what? We'll take a quick jab at Doctor Who. Like, new Doctor Who likes to do this, and sometimes a lot of other like weaker science fiction shows like to do this. Where Sherlock likes to do this, where it's like you're watching the show and you feel like you've got the rules all sussed out, and then at the very end, it's like, haha, turns out there was a whole bunch of shit that you just didn't have any idea about, and that is going to save the day. Like Super Jedi. Like, all the Jedi are one Jedi?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the conduit for all the good Jedi in the universe. Why? How? We've never...
Yeah.
You're a dyad. A what? And that means that I can turn back into an old man instead of a super old man. It's like, but why?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Is it because they love each other? There's never been 2 Jedis that, like, what about Obi-Wan and that chick in the Clone Wars that everybody keeps talking about? Or, like, you know, what about filial love? What about if you just get like 8 people that all love each other that are kind of mildly force sensitive? Can you get an Octad and then turn back into an old man by sucking all their power out? What are the rules, Star Wars? What are the fucking rules?
Well, I think the bigger idea is that, not to defend it in any way, but like, I think the Jedi had established really specific rules and the Sith established really specific rules. But when you start leaning into the gray area and doing whatever you want one way or another, then there's a whole world of things that the Force powers can allow you to do. And I think the whole point was to establish that we're like beyond that. But then they negate it by being like ultra Sith man and ultra Jedi woman, and it's just like, but none of that makes any sense.
Well, I guess the thing is that it makes sense if there's been any foreshadowing to it. Mm-hmm. But to just suddenly have it come out of thin air, like, why did Rey have all the Jedi in her and not Luke Skywalker? Because Luke Skywalker was a Force.
But it didn't seem like Luke tried to tap into it when she actively did, and Leia trained her to.
Did she?
I don't know. Why was Leia the fucking person training her? Like, goddamn, Mark Hamill's still alive. Why didn't they just bring him back?
I don't know. Well, no, they did bring him back to be like, hey, remember The Last Jedi? JK, lol. Turns out you are a Jedi. The Jedis are awesome, and I'm catching my lightsaber. Yeah. Take this. You're a Jedi. Everything's cool. I never did that weird thing where I drank the milk out of that weird...
We don't talk about it.
Guy, Snipples, that was sitting there. Yeah, that's the problem, is that there's just so much of it that again, like, to keep going back to the same thing with the Palpatine, that just gets hand waved away.
Yeah.
Of just like...
Who would have guessed that J.J. Abrams wouldn't be able to close this out?
Which, you know, look, there's actually kind of an interesting arc. Like, I've actually been thinking about how I would rewrite the entire movie to make
dangerous
sense.
territory.
It is dangerous territory. But, like, I think that one of the problems that this movie has is that it's really 2 movies. It's 2 movies smashed together. And in the first 40 minutes of the movie, I feel like everybody was just talking as fast as they can. What are you doing? Oh, I did light speed skipping. Oh, you can't do light speed skipping. What'd you do to my droid? I don't know what happens. All right, let's go on an adventure. I gotta stay here. Like, I just felt like I was watching a movie that was... I felt like I was watching a YouTube video at 1.5x.
Yeah.
But, like, if it's revealed that Palpatine is, like, the embodiment of the dark side of the Force, that he ascended when he became the Emperor from a man to, like, kind of a ghost entity, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, now
He's a Highlander.
he's a Highlander. Yeah. Well,
There can only be one.
but then that makes a little bit more sense. But I feel like you just need like a little bit of dialogue because he was like, I am all the Sith. And I'm like, you've been saying that for fucking 6 movies. Like, it's,
I mean, he's not wrong.
he's not wrong. It's just that, I don't know. You never establish any of this shit. And then at the last minute, it's like, no, I was actually wearing an anti-laser beam invisible cloak this entire time.
It's like, when you're playing as kids and the one kid's like, I use my firepower. Actually, I'm impervious to fire.
Yeah.
And so it makes me stronger, actually. So you fell into my trap.
And then there's more practical matters, like apparently all the Jedis couldn't beat all the Sith with 1 lightsaber, but with 2 lightsabers. Yes.
Yes.
The dagger's stupid.
The dagger.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I felt like Rey force healing was like everything. Like, god damn, she's like, a snake, force heal it.
Right. It was the visual version of an exposition dump.
Yeah.
Of just like, it's a snake. It's hurt. Wait, hold on. I'm going to make up some shit that I can do now.
Yeah.
Wham.
Force heal. Well, she just keeps doing it. And then it's like the idea of like giving life and transferring life force from one to another. Like, I think that should have been treated much more scary than
Sure.
it was, because that was very clearly Sith powers. And nobody was talking about it. I'm like, yeah, lightning from your hand, whatever, that's neat. But like, she was just straight up adding life force to animal, like left and right, just like doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's nuts. That's crazy. If you filmed that correctly, that should have been scary. Because
agree.
she was just like, nothing dies under my watch. And it's like, bitch, what?
Yeah, no,
that was much more of a Sith, like her turning to the dark side, than people ever like really put thought into.
100% agree. Speaking of which, can we talk about poor Kylo Ren for a few minutes here?
Aw, poor Kylo.
I'm not a okay. I guess I have very mixed feelings about this, right? Because I feel like one of the things that you see in a lot of movies is like, we got action, we got adventure, and for the ladies, we got some romance on top. And like,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like there was any romance in here.
So the exact opposite,
Oh,
because
okay.
since Last Jedi, I was like,
you're Raylo.
I'm a
You
Raylo.
shipping 'em?
Yeah, 100%. I was like, if they said no, they're related, I'd been like, okay, I was just reading into it.
Yeah.
But I was reading into it, and I read them as romantic. Like, everything about it was like long, slow, like staring at each other, the connection that they had, like all of that to me felt romantic.
Oh, and to be on the record, me too. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I felt like there was a lot of romance. There was a lot of romantic setup in this new trilogy, and like barely any of it paid off.
But I liked that.
Yeah.
Because I think there's points where you get a bunch of young, attractive people near each other, and they are flirtatious and whatever. I'm totally fine with that. And then it not becoming anything because they're connected to other people in different ways, or the friendship was more important. I'm 100% cool with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's much more important than like, every romantic interest has to have a payoff is unnecessary.
I guess in theory I totally agree with you, but when I was watching it, I just felt weird, where I was like, is anybody going to kiss anybody in this movie?
Well, Rose, my problem was, and I can't keep bringing it back to Rose, but really because she's so underutilized and poorly, it affects it. But
she gets that nice job, buddy,
like pat on the back
in the beginning. It's
yeah,
just
but like she kissed
yep.
Finn in Last Jedi.
She was explicitly into him.
And then they don't do anything with it.
Nope.
Like, they could have, I would have really enjoyed if they established that they had something, but then they like broke up.
Yeah.
Because that would have been great, where it's just like,
sure,
this thing happened, and they're like, look, just because we're not a thing doesn't mean you can't come with us and like do this, whatever, and she could have been like, nah, that's weird. I'm going to stay with Leia. I would have been, at least that's more development of their characters.
Yep.
Even if it's like off-screen development. But yeah.
I guess what we got was Rey and Kylo Ren made out before he died.
Yeah. 100% happy that happened.
That Kylo Ren died?
No,
Or
that
they made out.
that they kissed. I was like, yeah, I was like the only person like, woo!
I thought that was good too. I mean, I thought that the two of them had a lot of chemistry in those scenes in Last Jedi where they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
And there was a real intimacy there, right? It actually was really weird to me because thinking about how the kind of the things moving between the two different realms that they're in, like was used as a shorthand in The Last Jedi for like how they are how they're getting closer and how they're intimate with each other. And then here it was like, no, now it's a plot device for like, I see that you're in my room and like have a lightsaber as opposed to just this thing of showing them getting closer and closer and closer together.
I really enjoyed the battles where like that they had that fight scene that they had
where she's on the destroyer and he's on the planet.
Where like she destroys something and it ends up where he is, and he destroys something and it ends up where she is, and I thought that was beautifully done. I really appreciated that established the later scene where she has the lightsaber handoff to him. Like all of that was great to me. Like as far as like talking about things that we enjoyed about the movie, I thought those were great. I thought the when she's like the waves, that battle in the water that they had
where the Death Star,
where she jabs them. I thought that was great. And her healing him was earned compared to like the snake, where I thought that was like a better established thing.
Yeah. Like it almost would have been interesting to see her, like, instead of establishing it ahead of time, having her in a fit of pique kill him, and then in her trying to, in her feeling bad about that and just kind of almost like lashing out with the Force, but in a caring way, and then like bringing him back to life and him being like, what the fuck did you just do? And then like having that be kind of a, instead of like, no, remember the snake?
Yeah.
But the snake.
So, the snake, that whole sequence with the snake and stuff, it was so unnecessary, and it takes away from that moment of her healing. And again, and because it is very Sith thing to have her stab him and then heal him, I think is all dark side. Like there's no, she brought him back because she's still good. It's like, no, like she decided that he wasn't going to die. She literally decided life and death in that moment, and you took it, you lost the gravity of it by having her do it randomly to like a snake. And you know, like I just
like 30% of this podcast is
just me and the snake.
Fuck that snake.
It was really bad. It wasn't a good scene. Like it was an unnecessary scene. It just took time. It killed our time, and like just so that it moved like a fucking point and click adventure. Like this snake then moves, and now there's an exit.
Right.
All you had to do was give him a Band-Aid. Like, come on.
Or you could have shot him. You could have cut the snake's head off.
She could have used her like Jedi mind trick to been like, you want to leave, and then he leaves, and then he.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's just.
Yeah. At the end of the day, all this stuff is completely, to me, would be completely excusable, except that none of it, the whole movie just didn't seem to fit together very well for me. Like there were definitely things like the fight when they're above and below. The problem is that I was already rolling my eyes so hard when that scene was happening because they were just doing the Death Star from Episode 4, where they all had to sneak onto the Death Star to break somebody out of jail, except it was Chewie instead of Leia. And it was like, why are you doing this again? There's more stories to tell than just bust somebody off of the Death Star. And so, yeah. Anyway, do you have anything else that you want to bring up? Shall we start wrapping up?
Yeah, we can probably rapid fire.
Lightning round?
Let me see.
Okay.
The giant snake killing was on my list. Finn Secret. Babu Frick. I love
Babu Frick?
Yeah,
Yep.
loved him.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay.
No, because we even talked
We've gone
about
over everything else.
Yeah.
How about inexplicably this weird Poe was a drug dealer?
Yeah.
For some reason. And then like Zora whatever is fucking Boba girlfriend, whatever.
I really liked her gear, like her whole outfit.
Very striking looking, yeah.
Awesome. And the fact that we don't really see her face was really nice.
And then she's like, I've got this MacGuffin that will get me anywhere. And he's like, cool. And he's like, I got to get on that Star Destroyer. She's like,
here's
take
my MacGuffin.
the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good goddamn. All right. Like, come the fuck on.
I really enjoyed that any chance he got, he asked her for sex and she said no.
Yeah.
He would be like, oh, and she'd be like, no.
And then there was Finn's stormtrooper girlfriend, ex-stormtrooper girlfriend.
Yeah, and
not
like,
girlfriend,
he
lady
didn't-
friend. Friend is lady.
I feel like he didn't need. We didn't.
Lady Finn.
Lady Finn. We didn't need an established like other people do this. I felt like what it really did was establish that other people had force sensitivity because Finn left because of his force sensitivity, I think. And she implied the same exact thing.
God, that's so much implication below the surface.
I know,
like-
but that's all we have because JJ's really bad at fucking explaining things. So
actually, my sister made a really good point where she had said, you remember at the very end when they're on the Star Destroyer and Finn's like, I have to do something before I can leave, and what he has to do is shoot the command deck in the face. My sister said that she thought that him and the girl were going to, I'm sorry that I do not remember her name. It's too many fucking characters just wandering around here. That the two of them were going to go try to get the stormtroopers who we know are like, there's even a line earlier where they say, we're going to need to find more kids to start the program or whatever.
yeah, they're just like
And then because Finn establishes that the stormtroopers are all been like brainwashed children that have been abducted from their families. And so she thought, well, they're going to go try to
Save
get
them.
those stormtroopers to like rebel. And that's how they're going to take down the fleet, is they're going to start an internal rebellion within the First Order of these child soldiers, that Finn as a legend and then this woman who's been there can make an impassioned speech to them, and they'll be like, yeah, fuck these guys. I'm tired of working for...
they're like, nah. I was
they-
trying to find her name, but I can't find it.
But they don't. So, yeah. So here's where I come into. Oh my God! I'm just trying to type this into Google, and all it says is "Rise of Skywalker: Dark Science" because I was looking for the exact quote. Who is she? See, Maz Kanata. Maz Kanata also kind of got a little bit of a Janna. Yeah, Janna.
Gianna.
Sorry that I didn't know her name. But here's what I ended up with. All this is subjective, right? Because there's a lot of stuff like this that if you want to get really weird about The Last Jedi, which a lot of people do, if you didn't like The Last Jedi, you probably find yourself with a written out list of just like, well, why wouldn't Holdo just tell Poe what her plan was? And like, whatever, okay? There might be answers to the things that we have been talking about, even though we never got to the knife, which is really stupid. Really, really stupid. But like, did he know where to go after he killed the parents? Or did he have to decipher the runes and then go to the Death Star and line it up in order to find out the Wayfinder? Why was it written on the knife where to find the Wayfinder?
Also,
Why?
it's in the water. The Death Star was in the water. Like,
Yes.
that could have easily moved.
Also, how is that planet alive if the Death Star fell from orbit into it? Okay, anyway. The problem, in my opinion, is one of the overall point of this trilogy, right? The first, the prequel trilogy is about the fall of the Jedi and the rise of the Empire. And the original trilogy is about the fall of the Empire and then kind of, not really the rise of the Jedi, but, the return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
One could say. This is the same as the original trilogy because the first thing that happens in episode 7 is they're basically just like, here's a new empire, here's a new set of rebels, and here's a Death Star. Here's a plucky young rogue, here's a force-sensitive potential Jedi, and, here's their fast-talking commander, and, like, they're going on an adventure in the Millennium Falcon. And since it starts out by retreading 4, the only place they have to go is... Well, the thing is that it's not the only place they had to go, because at the end of The Last Jedi, that's why I think that I like the way The Last Jedi swerved. And in a way, in my mind, and my perfect end to this trilogy is that you take the beginnings of The Last Jedi and then you game it out to the conclusion of we're going to stop with the light side, dark side.
Yeah.
Because, again, you've got Rey as a Jedi, quote unquote Jedi, but who also has dark side tendencies, and Kylo Ren as a Sith who keeps drifting back towards the light no matter how much he tries not to.
Yeah.
And the idea of having the two of them meet in the center of that story to establish that we are past a good guys, bad guys, white hats, black hats, that we start with the universe very divided in the prequel trilogy between Jedis and Sith, and then the Jedis fall and the Sith rise, and then those two things meet in the middle at the end of this last trilogy to kind of make the universe more complicated than just the good guys and the bad guys.
Yeah.
That's where I wanted to go. Unfortunately, by just bringing back the Emperor, and in a lot of ways, in a great many ways that I don't think we even got into, aping Return of the Jedi with a lot of different things, you've just kind of done the same thematic journey that the original trilogy did, just with different characters.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a waste because it leaves the universe nowhere, like nothing. And at the end of the day, what was said, good is good and evil is bad.
Yeah.
Like, well, I knew that like 8 movies ago.
Yeah. Less Jedi started things aren't as easy as like good versus evil. They have the smuggler whose name I can't think of.
DJ.
DJ,
Yeah.
who
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, who's just, and he might not have been a great character, but he was still an interesting idea of like, this is just somebody trying to survive. He'll sell to whoever he needs to sell to make the money. And I just feel like you could easily explore that more, and they chose not to.
One of the things that, I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that the greatest part of the Star Wars trilogy is Canto Bight. I don't think Canto Bight is quite as bad as the people who don't like it, and I think it's actually a lot shorter than a lot of people remember it because it's only about 10 minutes in the movie. But what Canto Bight establishes is that there are morally unpleasant people in the galaxy that are not fucking Sith Lords.
Yeah.
That you don't have to be a gnarled old fucking Palpy to be a bad guy, that you can be selling and the question is, are they bad guys? Because they also sold the weapons that the Resistance is using to fight the First Order, right? So, like, where do they fit in the galaxy? And the whole idea at the end of that movie about the kid casually using the Force, I was thinking about it the other day, and it's like, well, once Luke closed up his burgeoning Jedi Order, right, after the whole incident with Kylo Ren, we never see anybody else. We never even have a line about it. Does this just mean that there's like all these like half Jedi, half just Force-sensitive people kind of half using the Force, like all over the place?
Finn.
Yeah, that there's people that are just like maybe Justin Theroux's code-breaking gambler guy is so good at gambling because he's just subconsciously using the Force to change the dice, you know? And there's a really interesting concept about, because I was talking to somebody about how in the original you could almost say that the entire Star Wars mainline saga was kicked off by the fact that the Jedi wouldn't let people date.
Yeah.
Right? Because if Anakin hadn't have hid that, if he'd been able to express those fears about Padme dying to Obi-Wan or Mace Windu or Penis Head or whatever the other Jedis are called, like, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So there's a question in my mind of like, why do the Jedis have to be this emotionless? You know, why do they have to suppress their emotions? Was this just a quick and easy way to fix this? And that there's an interesting story to ask about, like, why do they do things that way? And instead, it's solely divorced into this, you know, these guys are good and these guys aren't. So
lazy writing because J.J. Abrams isn't that great and I don't like him. I mean, because it just feels like anytime he really gets challenged, he just backs away instead of leaning into it. He will write himself into a corner if it sounds like it's going to give him a good, what's the answer? But then he won't write the answer.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he got written into a corner with Last Jedi and really backed away for most of it. And sometimes you have to be divisive. Like, sometimes to tell a story, you have to kind of pull away from what people think they want to tell them a story that maybe they needed to hear, or maybe it would have told a story they didn't realize they wanted to hear.
A lot of people didn't like Empire. A lot of people, I mean, I don't like the prequel trilogy. And a lot of people do like it, and that's fine. Not everybody has to like everything. But, I mean, it's just like, I don't know, this is one that I forgot, but, like, you know, there's that throwaway line in Rise of Skywalker where they say, what about the Holdo maneuver? And they say, oh, no, we can't do that. That's just 1 in a million. We'll never do that ever again. And it's like, did you really need to do that? Did you really need to walk back everything that was done in the last movie. Like, I thoroughly think that regardless of whether you want to blame, I don't think you should blame Rian Johnson. I don't even really think you should blame Kathleen Kennedy. If you want to blame anybody for this, I think you blame Bob Iger as the guy because, he's running a corporation that has the Marvel franchise.
Yeah.
They've seen how to do this. But this idea that these 3 movies were just independently written with no real plan or connective tissue. Like, if J.J. Abrams wanted Snoke to be the bad guy in the 3rd one, I feel like somebody should have told Rian Johnson and then he wouldn't have written him out.
Well, they implied, so there was like interviews where JJ has said that everything had to be okayed through him and he okayed everything. So that means that this was either supposed to be like that was the plan, was that it was going to be Palpatine, it was going to be all the things that he established, and instead of making sure that it was a fluid connection between them, he let the Rian Johnson make it a little more choppy, and by this is how he's going to get rid of him. This is how he's going to do that.
Colin Trevorrow was supposed to do Rise of Skywalker, the guy that did Jurassic World: Fallen Order, and then he got bumped off, and then there was a really accelerated schedule to make it happen. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's weird because I feel like if you get way far back away from it and look at it, you can see like, okay, I see where you were going to go. You've got your, the beginning where you're rebooting it, and then the start middle chapter that kills Snoke off to leave the way open to, oh my God, it's Emperor Palpatine is back. But like, if you look at that from a distance and you think about this is what we're doing Death Star, dark middle chapter, throw Emperor Palpatine down the well.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the original trilogy. Like, that's just doing the same thing.
I could just watch the original trilogy.
Yeah. I think that the best way that I have to describe the way I feel about Rise of Skywalker at the end of the day is there's a scene in Rise of Skywalker that's in the trailers where where Kylo Ren, for some reason, is just going to run over her in his TIE fighter. I don't know what he's going to do, but he's like right down on the ground. He's like flying right at her. She's running away on Coachella World. And she pulls out her lightsaber and she runs. She does a flip. She cuts the wing off of his
They put
thing.
that in the trailer?
Yes. It was the first trailer.
That's crazy.
Or I don't know if they showed her cutting it off, but they showed her the flip in slow motion.
Yeah.
She cuts the wing off of his TIE fighter and it goes rolling and it explodes, right? Spoiler alert for The Mandalorian. In the last episode of The Mandalorian, after foreshadowing it and talking about it the entire time and having it be part of the franchise, the main character, The Mandalorian, gets one of those jetpacks like Boba Fett has in Return of the Jedi. And the big bad in the series has one TIE fighter and he's fucking killing everybody with it. And the Mandalorian flies up and puts a bomb on the wing of the TIE fighter and jumps off, and then it explodes and it crashes.
Yeah.
And it was like a million times more emotionally powerful.
Yeah.
Because it was a struggle. It seemed like it was hard. It had been built up to, and it was the same thing happened, but that the emotional payoff was so big in The Mandalorian as opposed to that. It was like a triumphant moment. Whereas here it was just like, isn't that cool looking? And you go, yes. But why was he trying to ram her with his TIE fighter?
Yeah.
What was he going to do? What was she going to do if she killed him there and he just died?
She would have brought him back to life.
Just gathering up all the little pieces.
Well, I've seen her do it. She can do it whatever she wants.
Yep.
She's a Palpatine.
She's a Palpatine. She's Palpatine, man. Fucking Palpatines.
Don't date a Palpatine girl. Let me tell you, she will kill you and bring you right back to life.
Honey, I'm home.